Hi there, I'm Charlotte Smith and this is rawmilkpro.com, your place for tips and ideas on how to have a sustainable and profitable raw milk dairy. Today I'm out standing in the pasture, and this is because one of the most common questions I get asked is about our intense rotational grazing system. So I'm going to show you that today. Let's get started. I practice what's called intense rotational grazing. And basically what this means is that we are recreating what our cows, whether they're our beef cows or our dairy cows, would do in nature. So cows will move in a herd. So they'll be in a mob or a herd and they will move continuously to fresh, fast-growing grass. That's what they're in search of. And what they leave behind them is the trampled grass and of course their manure that is spread around fertilizing. So this means your land is far more sustainable. Your farm becomes more sustainable when you do implement a intense rotational grazing system. In order to recreate that system, what we've done is we've taken our 70 acres of grass and we've divided it into smaller paddocks. Some of them are 2 and 3 and 4 acres in our canyon land. On these flat fields here though, we're lucky enough to have 5-acre paddocks. And then I use this temporary fence right here, which I'll show you in a little bit, to make the paddocks larger or smaller to fit into what I call a cow day. And one cow day is how much grass the cows will eat in one day. So right now they're on about a 1-acre paddock, and that's about 24 hours of grass for my 20 cows. And that means that I will come into this paddock tomorrow, it'll be eaten down. They will not return to this paddock for about 6 weeks. So by then it's naturally sanitized. As you can see, there's no manure lying around, the fly larvae is gone, the grass is tall. We have just a couple of seed heads here coming on, so it hasn't gone to seed yet, which means all the nutrition is still in the leaves. So the cows are eating really fast-growing, nutritious grass, which equates to super good meat too. And this is one of the reasons people drive from all over Oregon and even Washington to buy our product, because you can't find meat like this, that's raised like this, in stores anywhere. So here's the paddock the cows have been on for the last 24 hours. If you look down here, they have eaten what they're gonna eat. They've trampled a lot of it, and cows will not come back and eat trampled grass. So this is done for. There's manure around. So they've eaten the best part, which is about the top 6 inches of grass. And then this is where they're going to be moving this morning. So if you'll notice, look at the difference. They've eaten right up to here, and then we've got all this knee-high grass right over here. So they're gonna be pretty excited to run over there. So let me show you that process right now of putting the cows on the fresh grass. And then once your cows are in place, you just shut your gate here. They're very happy to be on fresh grass for the next 24 hours. We hook up our electricity again, and boom, we're set. I'm gonna go get their water and their minerals and move those over to the new paddock, and they'll be good to go till tomorrow. This is an example of what we use to create our temporary paddocks. So again, here's the spool of wire that I got at the farm store, and I bought this spool separately. This together is about $150, but it's invaluable, really worth it to have it. And then you can just roll these up and move them as you need them, stretch them out to the distance you need. And then when you've got it stretched out, they just hook up to the fence, and then I can go back and tighten it as needed. And then here's our spools right on the other side, set up on our next paddock. This is all ready to go for tomorrow. So as you see, we've got a little bit of the same thing. We've got knee-high grass, just enough of it going to seed that the stuff underneath is being shaded and growing really well. A couple more things you need to know about intense rotational grazing. I began this 5 years ago because I could not find raw milk from any farmer who was doing grazing. So the cows were not on fresh grass every day, and that's what I wanted. And what I noticed in the first year is I had about 2 acres that would feed had enough feed for 1 cow. By the end of that year, I could support 2 cows on that 2 acres, and the following year, 3 cows on that 2 acres. So our yield doubled every year the first few years. This is so it's ideal for your land. It's the best way to heal your land, is to get some animals on there grazing, spreading their manure as fertilizer around, and then pulling them off before they can damage the land, and then not bringing them back for a certain rest period, which might be anywhere from 4 to 6 or even 8 weeks in the really hot weather or slow growing season. One question I get asked a lot is people will say, well, how big should I make my paddocks for my 2 cows or 15 cows? And the answer to that is I can't tell you that. You've got to determine that for your farm. Our farm is completely different than yours is going to be. We've been intensely grazing this for years now, so our yield is really high. If you're just beginning, your grass might be sparser. You may be able to only graze your paddocks once during the season until the following year. So the only way to learn intense rotational grazing is to start doing it, which means pull your cows off your pastures, give them some water, let them grow up, put your cows back on there, and determine how big of a paddock you need for 24 hours of grass for your cows. And then you'll know, and what you will find is the following year your paddocks can be smaller, or you can graze more cows per paddock. One of the most important things, though, is don't go out and build a bunch of permanent fencing on your farm. Get the temporary fence. As long as it's electric, those cows will respect it. And then you've just got a lot of flexibility over all your grass on your farm. So now it's your turn to share your genius. We have people from all over the United States and Canada and several other countries reading this blog and looking for ideas. So what have you learned in intense rotational grazing? Scroll down below this video to the comment section and share your genius. Tell us your ideas or ask your questions, and we have a great community of people who love learning from what everyone else has to share too. Thank you so much for joining us.